Australians, oh, let's make a choice, for we're no longer free. Our government has let us down and failed our own country. The great Australian dream is for the lucky few, but Aussies know what it really means to be true blue. Lest we forget what's a fair go and make Australia fair. South, we just want to live and grow. Advance Australia fair.
Well, g'day, folks. How you going? Hope you're doing all right. Now, just want to make sure that you can see and hear everything. I gather you could actually see Dan Daniels and his version of Advance Australia Fair. What a bloody great version that is. I've been in contact with Dan. He gave me permission to use that and is very happy to come on and have a bit of a chat at some stage. So I'm hoping to get him on. And you never know. We'll see if we can't push that. But what a brilliant, brilliant parody, I guess, of Advance Australia Fair, but what a very true telling of the times today. And I thought it, reasonably fitting, given in line with some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight, because quite literally there are thousands of people like you and I that are fed up with the representation that we get from those that we elect to represent our views and wishes in our state and federal parliaments. Now, Darren Bergwerf is a tradie, he's a business owner, he's a concerned and active community member. He started My Place, for God's sake. And on top of it all, he's a pretty good bloke. I'm lucky enough to call him a mate. Now, at the moment, Darren is running for the seat of Dunkley. It's a federal seat based around Frankston in the southeast of Melbourne. And I've got to say, he's getting some huge support. Which is wonderful to hear, at least. Now, I gather that a lot of people in Dunkley are like us. They've had enough of the Libs, Labor, National Greens secret alliance. It's hardly secret anymore. We all know they are the same thing. They've had the veil torn back, if you like, to reveal the truth, the waste, the bad decisions, the cost to us. And that cost is financial, emotional, physical, and mental. God, how many people have we lost to mental stress? And that stress has been applied deliberately with the help of laws created by the very people that we elect to represent us in those state and federal parliaments. Putting the correct emphasis on the right syllable actually makes a pretty big difference in the meaning of a word and your understanding of it. I did an exercise the other day, and I'm going to go and do that with you on another show that will give you an idea of just how different a sentence can be interpreted by placing the emphasis on a different word in the same sentence. Now, we need to understand what our words mean. Politicians are called our representatives in Parliament. That's because they're meant to represent our position on all matters raised in the Parliament. Now, in Darren Bergerf, the people of Dunkley, I think, are seeing a man that will do just that. He will represent them. He will represent their feelings, their thoughts, what their issues are honourably in that place, which is probably a lot more than we can say for most of those who currently sit there. Now, if Darren's views are views you're agreeing with, then please go to darrenfordunkley.com and check it out. Pre-polling has already started. The votes are open, so to speak, and you can go and vote. But darrenfordunkley.com is his website. Go and check it out. Now, if you can't vote in Dunkley, then also go to darrenfordunkley.com and have a bit of a look at what Darren stands for. You see, you could be the same kind of person that Darren is, that can represent the views and feelings, the issues affecting your electorate. You just might be the voice of your electorate in a federal or state seat. It's probably not the kind of job you're going to stick your hand up for. But you might be the kind, you might know somebody, you might say, well, you know, I trust them. I believe in what they're doing, saying, thinking, feeling, that they are working for we the people, and they are going to fix or do the best they can to represent our views at getting the issues sorted in our area. But it starts with someone that you can believe in, someone that you can elect. And we need more people like that. Now, you might be that person. God, I hope so. Like I said, it's probably not a job you want. But if you are the right person, it's the kind of job you will take on for the betterment of us all, but most especially your grandchildren, because they're the ones that we're fighting for now, the unborn. Or in my case, because I don't have a grandchild, but my daughter has a sister, and she has a little boy, I beg your pardon, a little girl, last week. So that's tremendous news. And I've got other family that have small children. I'm fighting for their future. So if you can find it in yourself, or find the person like Darren in your community that can be the voice that you need in your seat, someone that has the courage, the conviction, and the desire to help out and help find the solutions that we the people need, rather than just getting pissed and rich on the public purse while representing us in that place. And we've got plenty of examples recently for the Nationals doing just that. Anyway, I'm very grateful to call him a mate. The people of Dunkley will be extremely grateful, and I'm sure benefited immensely should they able to get him elected. Would you put your hands together and please welcome him to the show, folks, my good friend, Darren Bergwerf. G'day, buddy.
Evening, Carl. How you going, mate?
You feeling your tyres pumped up at all?
No, just it's just a grind, really. But look, I haven't even got time to stop and think at the moment. There's just so much going on, and you know, obviously pre-polling started today, so we've been out and about. We've got our pre-polling venues manned for this week. So I think there's 10, 11, 12 days of pre-polling, which is totally ridiculous, of course, and that's one of the things that we'll be looking to change.
So I guess people want to know what it is that you're standing for in Dunkley. So you and I have sat down and had many different political conversations from many angles. What is your view of the current political landscape of Australia, if you like?
Well, the current political landscape in this country is, I think that place up on the hill is full of spineless cowards. I don't call any of them honourable. There might be a couple in there that might come close, but they're dishonourable, spineless. They're not there for the people, and that's part of the reason why that I want to run, and part of reconstituting the political landscape in this country for us as a people's campaign. It's not just my campaign. Is to change the voting system and change the selection process. That these preferences and the two-party preferred garbage that is Australian politics has to be removed. That would be the first thing. The other thing I'm campaigning on also is that the gravy train of the politicians in this country will come to a stop. So when you leave office, there'll be no paid for staff. There'll be no paid for office. There'll be no paid transport airfares around the country on the public purse. You finish, you're done. Not one more cent. And in fact, I also believe that I can't see why they can get early access to their superannuation when no one else in the country can. So I would bring...
And they get a much better super deal than anybody else in the country as well.
Correct.
And just while we're on super, no, I won't. I'll do that later. I won't divert from what you're talking about because it's very important. They do get a bloody big trough to stick their nose in while they're in that place and after. Now, I'm sure that some of the older ones now, you've got to serve more than 2 terms or something to get a gold card. But these, by and large, these ex-politicians are looked after pretty well if they've served anything longer than 1 term.
Yeah, way too well, and that's got to come to an end. The gravy train's got to stop, and also the this, like I said before, the pre-polling for 12, 13 days is just ridiculous. The whole system, the whole election, the Australian Electoral Commission, which is supposed to be an independent body, the whole system is leaning towards Liberal and Labor, the duopoly, continually getting the seats. Right, they make it impossible for people that don't have the resources that they have to be able to man those polling booths and get the people out there. And then, of course, all the votes can only get filtered back, like we saw in the last federal election. Look, we're aware of this before we run in this election, but once again, it's a platform for truth telling, and that's what we're using. This is an awareness campaign more than a political campaign for us.
So would you be suggesting to people not to pre-poll vote, but to vote on the day and vote in pen rather than the pencil that they give you? Pre-polling, the only way to avoid that portion of, and let's call it rigging, because I don't know what else it would be, no one really guarantees that those pre-poll votes aren't counted, sorted, looked at before the polling day, pardon me, and potentially altered. Nobody's ever been able to prove it, and the AEC gets very touchy of allegations of it, but it's never investigated, not seriously, not clearly. So that would form part of your platform, I imagine, the reinvigoration of the AEC as our overseeing body for, these elections.
I just think that, I agree. 2 ladies turned up today. They both bought the pen. They voted for me with pen. But I would prefer that everyone voted on the Saturday. And look, I think 1 or 2 days maximum pre-polling, to make it a little bit less of a chore on the Saturday, because those lines can get quite long. But not 13 days. I think if we had a Thursday, Friday, Saturday platform to vote, and yes, the fact that those votes are sitting around for 2 weeks, and I'm not suggesting anything, may be happening in between that time, but the longer the voting,
it's certainly like a live camera on them 24 hours a day and a security guard, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, that they'll probably just be turned off at the right moment, like security cameras normally are. They never seem to work when something happens.
Yeah, true. You mentioned that that this campaign is more about educating, awareness-driven campaign. What is your position on the current education system? Because if you're going to get elected to that place, you might be in a position to make some input into making changes in our educational system.
System education, I think that's a furphy system. 100%. It's systematically indoctrinating our children, and it needs a total overhaul. The whole curriculum needs an overhaul. I believe that really the system and the indoctrination of our children is child abuse. The curriculum that our government supports and facilitates through our primary schools, especially, is a form of child abuse, and it has to stop. The sexualization of the children, what they're being taught with gender, swapping and all this kind of stuff, it's poisoning the minds of our kids, and that to me is child abuse. And I've got a good close friend now that actually came down and spoke at our rally on Saturday. That is full noise heading into that. He's got so much information that we're going to be building and sharing on our Darren for Dunkley page regarding the abuse of our children through the education or the indoctrination system. And that's something that really needs to be looked into. We need to get an awareness out to the parents, which Craig's working on And there's a lot of my place people are going to join Craig and help him build that community and the awareness in that community of concerned parents around the country too.
I agree. Biggest concerns, I suppose, at the moment for most Australians, affordability, equity, an equitable lifestyle, housing affordability, rental accommodation, I guess the rental crisis that's happening in every state. Wages aren't going up fast enough to keep up with rents. Have you turned your mind to any solutions in that regard?
Yes, we've touched on it. I mean, the housing affordability crisis is. I mean, my kids will never own a home the way things are going in this country. And the cost of living going through the roof, the rental crisis, and in that time, you've got a government, trying to bribe, in my opinion, the electorate with a $900 million spending package on a train. Electrification of a train that we already have a service there that's actually well underutilized. It's not even at capacity. It services the community perfectly well because they don't care about the problem. We have massive problems in Dunkley, the same as the rest of the country has, with homeless people, with cost of living, with housing crisis, drug and alcohol dependent issues. I mean, there's just so many issues that the people have that the government have no interest in fixing. That all they're interested in is buying people's votes, and they only seem to roll out the checkbook, when they want your vote. You don't hear from them for ages. They've never worried about the cost of living as they've pumped up, especially Labor. They've pumped up interest rates 10 times over the last 12 months, 18 months. Couldn't give a crap about the cost of living until all of a sudden it becomes an issue because they want our vote.
You went for beers the other night. You tried to meet up with the tradies after work to try and hit a certain pub at a certain time. You missed the bulk of the tradies, but you did find an old union organiser or two sitting around, and you wound up having a pretty interesting conversation there. You were able to enlighten them a little bit.
Yeah, and had a really good conversation with an organiser. He's been part of the union since the BWIU, the same as me. He's about the same age as me, and had a really good conversation, and I brought up the fact that the CFMEU are facing the biggest wage fraud or wage theft from their own workers in the history of this country. All the other guys around the table that weren't aware of that, he was, but certainly he had some good raps for my position and where I was at, and thought that would be quite handy if I got in there, because I would take some strength into that building that. I won't be corruptible, and I won't be bought off by anyone. And that was a really good conversation. I spoke to 50 people that night in that pub in probably an hour, and handed out my brochures, and got a lot of really good reception. And I think I picked up a lot of votes just in that hour that I spent there.
Yeah. So what's the solution to the cost of living crisis?
Okay. That's look.
Do you want to crack a beer before you try that one?
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. Our position really is, and it's not just the cost of living. It's so many problems in this country are getting out of hand, and we'd like to see a freeze for 3 years on immigration, not just a cutback, but a freeze on immigration until we can actually get our house in order and fix all the problems that this country has, because it's like any business that you try and grow too quickly. It falls apart, and society is falling apart under the Labor government. Yep. It's no different under the Liberal government, but it's been worse over the last 18 months than I've seen.
Engineered that way, I would say, by weak people who've been elected into Parliament, supposedly to represent us, but have been corrupted by those that have been in there and been re-elected into there for years and years and years. You will be a breath of fresh air, my friend, if you can get past this gatekeeping that goes on in these election cycles. And that will only happen with overwhelming support. And you were saying today that you're manning one of the... How many pre-poll places are there in Dunkley?
3.
All right, so you can sort of get around them, but you're not going to see everybody unless you've got somebody who's manning them. Are you doing any exit polling, that sort of thing?
No, not really. I mean, we know that. I mean, you get the odd wink and nod as people walk out. They don't. Some people don't like to make it obvious that they're voting for you when they walk in. But yeah, we certainly. I think we had a good day. It started off thinking, oh, here we go, deja vu. And I really thought the landscape after 20 months of what's unfolded since the federal election last time would have changed more than it has. But in saying that, I was really encouraged. We had our market here yesterday out the back, and I had so many people come from all over Dunkley wanting to pick up the flyers with the preferences on them that we just had delivered Saturday. One lady came down. She said, look, I need a heap of them. I need to take a photo and send it and share it around because my son wants to vote for you. All his mates want to vote for you, but they don't know how to vote. Like they're in their late teens, early 20s. So I've had a lot of really positive response of people wanting to actually either vote for the first time because I'm running, and they've been really appreciative that that I've stood up to do it again, and they've got someone else to give their vote to rather than the political parties.
So even if people were looking just as a protest vote, you would be a very worthy recipient of a protest vote, because if you've been and God, let's face it, in the area where you are, it's been a stronghold, Labor stronghold for years and years and years. But Labor has raped Victoria blind, has been exposed as the most, if not one of, if not the most corrupt states in the country, with a leadership that is rotten to the core left and right. You just might be the breath of fresh air and the kind of person that is an inspiration to others around the country to stand when the time comes, either in state or federal seats, because there are so many disenfranchised voters, as I said in the open, like myself, and many of the people who are in the chat here tonight, who are completely bereft of ideas of who they can vote for because they don't see anybody that will stand up and represent them. And I'm sure the Cairns News viewers who are watching on their Rumble channel there tonight, thanks for Cairns News for coming on board. We're streaming to their Rumble channel live every night with the Voice of Freedom now too. We want to see more people like you, because you are providing an inspiring path for people to follow. Nobody says they've got to go up and set up an organisation like My Place. But nobody told you had to do it either. It was just something that you did. Now, there are people like you in every community of every size. What have you found? What was the hardest thing for you to decide, bugger it, I'm going to put down the beer, I'm going to put down the hammer, and I'm going to take up door knocking, pamphlets, and speeches in public?
There was nothing hard. It just kind of, it was a necessity, really. Like I said, I've been terrified about public speaking for my whole life until I opened My Place in October 21. And it's just something that we have to do. People need to step the hell up. I mean, and it's not about, I'm not here to make friends or influence people. I'm here to tell the bloody, the cold hard facts, the truth, where I stand, my truth, the people's truth. And I don't care who I upset, right? I think people are trying to come in, they're trying to play politics. Now, in saying that, we've got it used to be the Liberal Democrats, I think, and now they're the Libertarian Party. And when Labor and Liberal are so on the nose out there, then that concept of the major parties' stench is really growing momentum around the country. And the Liberal, this party, which is David Limbrick's party, have all of a sudden decided they're going to put Liberal at number 2 on their preferences and Labor at 3. And I said to him the other day, I said, mate, that is going to come back and bite you on the ass, because people are fed up with the major parties. And here you are basically jumping into bed with them by preferencing 2 and 3. Now, Labor, I think it's Labor, have put me at 8, which is last on the ballot. So they've put their arch nemesis above me. And Liberal, I think, have put me at 7. So that's how scared they are. Last time we've seen this happen, I believe, is with Pauline Hanson, where they're that concerned about One Nation that they preference each other higher than the One Nation party. So these people are they are concerned. They are concerned that the truth is actually getting out there, and the people are fed up, and they know the writing's on the wall. Whether it's this time or next time, it doesn't matter. The awareness is growing. The truth telling will continue to grow long after Saturday week. like I said, this is an information campaign. We've already set up a brand new platform at AUS _ is this true? We've got over 100 memes now, which we are asking, is this true? And then putting up what we believe to be fact. So we're not making a statement. We're not making a claim. We're asking the question whether it's true or not. And we're going to continue that long after Saturday week. And we're going to up the ante all the way through until whenever it is that people finally get the message.
And that's the example of one of those memes there. Is this true?
Yep. The family law court is a broken system, only financially benefiting those that make up the family law circus, which it is. 4 generations of broken families, child abuse, corruption, and untold pain and suffering that requires a full criminal investigation into the family law court. And that is one of the positions that the people of Dunkley, and I believe the people of Australia, and me as an independent candidate, that is one of our positions.
I'm not saying the two are related, but there's an interesting thing happened with one of the Donald Trump cases in the US. This Wade person that's being spoken about here is talking about is an associate of Fannie Wells, who is the DA who's brought the charges against Trump. And there is a line I particularly like. Fulton County paid roughly $300,000 to this bloke Wade's law firm. But Wade said he received roughly $100,000 of that because the payments were dispersed between 3 people who worked at the firm, all of whom had contracts with the Fulton County DA's office for various reasons. There is a school of thought that says the solicitors, the judges, doesn't matter whether it's your solicitor or the opposing solicitor, they all share in the profits of the court. And I'm interested to find out what $300,000, and if that kind of transfer happens back to law firms in Australia from courts. I can understand payment for pro bono work or certain areas with that, but why would a court be sending money, particularly hundreds of thousands of dollars of it, back to law firms? That would be a question I'd like to investigate. That's American, obviously, but I'd be really interested if you should get elected. Could you possibly, using the power of the people's phone that you get in Parliament, maybe query someone in the High Court about that?
Oh, look, that kind of that's just even not a tip of the iceberg. That kind of thing. I mean, we've got a situation down here, and I'm not insinuating anything is wrong with this or has been done wrong, but we've got the mayor of the local Frankston Corporate Council, who's been pretty much elected deputy mayor within half an hour of getting on the council in 2020, has been mayor, just been voted in for the 3rd year as mayor in his 4-year reign. He's on so many other boards around Frankston, housing boards. He's on the local Frankston Cemetery Board, which just happened to get a $400,000 fund to renovate a toilet block at the cemetery, which, look, we haven't dug up yet the scope of works or the quotes and who got the contract. But just on the surface, I would have thought $100,000 max may have come close, would have been under that in my assumption. So, these kind of things, and like I said, I'm not suggesting that anything dodgy has been done, but these are the kind of things potentially where we know throughout history.
Well, you would enjoy a little transparency. You would enjoy a little transparency.
Correct. The money laundering throughout the corporate world, as we know, has gone on for decades and decades. And the equality society that we need to develop moving forward, fairness for all, transparency for all, and the corporate greed's got to come to an end. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in Ukraine and fighting wars, and we can't even feed and house our own citizens.
So that brings me back to probably more political points of discussion. We've had a couple of boats turn up unknown to our defence forces on the Australian shores. They've been camping out with some locals along the beaches of Western Australia. Once again, it seems the floodgates are about to open. The Labor Party again asleep at the wheel, like they were last time when Gillard and Rudd let 50 to 80,000 illegals through and rubber stamped them into this country and made them Labor voters on the way past. Labor voters for life. Otherwise, you don't get, your free suck on the public tit. They're doing it all again. I guess the boats issue is a national security issue, and we're clearly vulnerable there. Where do you stand on national security issues?
Yeah, well, 100% is. And actually, I'm surprised it's taken 18 months. They must have been a bit slow on the uptake, sending out the invitations, the Labor Party, when they got in back in May 2022. But once again, normal for Labor. I can see the floodgates opening. It is a national security issue, 100%.
Yep.
And not only with that, but the foreign ownership of our ports, of our electricity, of our water, the fact that we don't, produce our own petrol and diesel in this country anymore. I mean, we're at the beck and call of whatever country decides to shut us down. And, part of our policy is to take back the ownership of all of those public assets. And the same with the Reinhardts, the bloody Palmers and the Forrests and these type of people. That's the Commonwealth. And all we get is some tiny little tax cuts. We're getting the scraps off the table rather than our, the Commonwealth of this country, which we are the Commonwealth. And that Commonwealth has to be redistributed and fixing the problems in this country, not going to these fat cat miners and off to overseas interests. And that's another, like I said, that is a national security issue. And our country and our Labor and Liberal governments for decades have sold this country out. We are very vulnerable, and it's something we need to turn around.
Yep, and we need to turn it around bloody fast, in my opinion. The major parties can come into this election in Dunkley and, well, particularly the Labor Party, they've been able to fling around many millions of dollars. It's unfortunate that Peter Murphy had to pass away from breast cancer for a breast cancer unit to be installed and named after her at the Frankston Hospital. And I'm not going to detract from the fact and the need for such a service in the area. It's just a pity that it took the death of a sitting Labor member to really make it happen. What local issues do you stand on that the major parties aren't? What makes you different?
Oh, look, they simply, I'm looking to get I spoke to the president of the RSL the other night, so we'd like to get a DVA office set up in Frankston again, Department of Veteran Affairs at the RSL. The office is in the city, and we need one. They're the biggest RSL in Victoria, over 4,000 members and even more affiliates from that. So, yeah, that we're campaigning on a new Department of Veteran Affairs office to be set up in Frankston. We're basically telling them that the $900 million to fund a train line that we don't need is ridiculous. And we would repurpose that money. We could fix pretty much every issue we have in the Dunkley electorate, including buying back the land where this great wall that the mayor and the council have approved now for multiple 16-story buildings along the western side of Nepean Highway, which all the local people are against. The only ones that aren't are the developers, of course. Part of Frankganistan and the way that Frankston's looking at the moment does look like Frankganistan. We've got burnout shops. We've got broken glass. We've got for lease signs everywhere. There's no parking. Businesses are going broke all the time because of council decisions and because of state government decisions. They're clearly in breach of contract. And we're going to be looking at what kind of action we can take about that before there is nothing left in Frankston. And we believe it's all by design because once those shops are empty, and there's over 100 now in Frankston that are empty and vandalised and burnt out, then, of course, what happens, the interest rates go up by 4 or 5%. The landlords have no income, distressed assets. Who comes in and buys the distressed commercial properties? Oh, the developers. As they do, they change the zoning and then they bang up these 16-story buildings. So that block of land along Nepean Highway from Wells Street to Beach Street, in my assessment, would be under 80 million to buy back from the private developers, and we could turn that into a public space, because the council has already got rid of a massive amount of car park where they put up that remand centre, which is called the Southeast Water Building, which once again is against the height restrictions that are supposed to be on that side of the highway. And that deal is, in my opinion, very shady. They're not allowed. They're sworn to secrecy about how that went down. That was public land that the council have given, but I won't say given, because no one knows the actual terms of the contract or how it went down. But they certainly got that public land, and for another private business. Okay, the Southeast Water is a private business. It's a company, masquerading as a service. And they're charging people for water bills when they're not even supplying water, because the last I knew about real water, it doesn't have fluoride and a lot of other chemicals in the water that this does. And the evidence about what fluoride is doing to people is starting to surface now as well. And that is another part of our policy that will be on our website. Getting all the facts. It's all very well talking this stuff. And I think that's what the freedom movement aren't really doing right. Is everyone talks about it and they're talking through secondhand information, they're talking through a belief. And then, when people say, well, show me the facts, show me where's the evidence. And if you can't back what you speak up with evidence, then you don't have an argument. And I think that's something that we, as a movement, as Australians, if we want to take our country back, we've actually got to do the hard work, do the research, and put it all together so we can actually show people that what we're talking about isn't a theory, it's actual fact.
And in the words of a great Australian comedian, if people get offended, so what?
Yeah.
Being offended never killed you. Being offended never killed anybody. The world, isn't going to stop because you're offended. So
then again, these fragile woke generation that are coming through at the moment, once again, all been indoctrinated to a point where they've just got no critical thinking whatsoever. So, there are plenty. I had 2 families came through that live up at Sandhurst on the weekend. They had 4 kids between them, all boys, between probably 10 or 11 and 15. And all fully awake, all really excited. So it was rewarding to see that there are lots of parents out there that have actually done the right thing and educated their kids. And I know there's a lot of people taking their kids out of school, and they won't allow their kids to be abused, especially mentally, but also physically at school. Right, the bullies seem to get favour of the teachers and the system. You're not allowed to fight back. It happened to my son. Only the last one. The first 2 did what they needed to do and sorted out the problem. My youngest one was basically told that he wasn't allowed to do what I wanted him to do, and then he suffered for the rest of his school days. So it's the problem at school. There is so much abuse against the children at school,
and more coming if. The jabs, the mandated jabs are followed through on. But there are still parents pulling kids out of school. There are teachers who have refused to go back into the school system, not because they have to be jabbed now because they don't, but simply because they refuse to work for the arseholes that sacked them last time. And they are opening up, I don't know, what would you call a group of tutorials or somebody who does teaching privately, private teachers, I guess. We can't let you walk away without asking you something about the environment and the energy systems, or the position that you would take to Canberra if you were able to be elected. The environment, the climate criers, the energy liars are not being held to account by anybody in either state or federal parliament. Victoria, of course, is in the process or trying to get I think it's 500 square kilometre section of the coastline just off Western Port built and fitted out with bloody windmills. These ridiculous friggin' things that we found out recently at the Canberra rally, in fact, that those floating windmills are not anchored to the seafloor. They float on large constructed things and are anchored to the seafloor using chains. Now, for the Illawarra project off Wollongong, which wasn't half the size, I don't think, of Victoria's, it was going to take the entire production of sea chain, like anchor chain manufacturers. It's going to take all the anchor manufacturers of that chain in the world a year to come up with enough chain to strap down enough of those barges, things, whatever they are, that they build the big fans on. The one in Victoria is, not going ahead because they've had so many cost blowouts and so many other restrictions, I believe, through Western Port. Where do you stand on all of this?
Oh, look, that whole renewable energy, fraud is one of the things we're exposing. It's just mind-boggling that these so-called greenies and environmentalists can even think that this is a good idea to spoil the landscape. They're talking 500 square kilometres in Bass Strait to put these monstrosities up. That, as we know, they never produce more energy than it takes to mine the materials, ship the materials, build the windmills, install the windmills. By the time that's if they get their full capacity of their lifespan. Some of them burn out, halfway through, and then they sit there in farmers' paddocks, and it's up to them to deal with the getting rid of the things. They don't biodegrade. You can't do anything with them. You can't recycle them. They don't produce any energy. Like I said, they don't never become positive for the environment. So that the lithium batteries, we know that these electric cars are actually being stacked up 10 high in the tip. We know Hertz are selling 30,000 of their fleet. People are walking away from the electric cars. Then all of a sudden, guess what? We've had water engines available for a lot since the 80s. I remember that guy's kind of design got shelved. Now all of a sudden Toyota coming out and building an engine that runs on water. So the whole renewable fraud is we would put a stop, no more funding whatsoever, no more rolling out of any turbines, a very close scrutiny into solar panels about whether we cease that and keep the ones going that are there, what benefit they have. We need a full investigation to the whole furphy of whether we have too much CO2 in the atmosphere. The whole industry needs to be looked into. And so we're not for renewables. I don't believe that we need to. And once again, hemp. If we want to fix the so-called crisis in the environment, planting 1 million acres of hemp would go a long way to doing that. We've got to start building things out of hemp. I know Shep have ordered a heap of pellets from the guys down at Pakenham that are manufacturing hemp materials now. I think the Shep pellets weigh about 30 kilos. The hemp pellets are only about 13 kilos. So just the half the weight of those pellets when you put 50 on a semi or 40 on a semi, just the extra weight or the less weight that transport costs are going to be less diesel. They don't burn, they don't get eaten by white ants, they don't rot. So we've really got to initiate new industries, and the hemp industry, I believe, will solve a lot of the problems. If you really want to keep burning, or you don't want to burn coal, we can burn the other part of the hemp that doesn't form the building materials, can be actually squashed into briquettes and actually go in and fire up those coal-powered fire stations as well.
Sunflower, God love you, darling. Hope you had a good weekend. Will you dissolve council as they have no lawful standing? Where do you stand on that?
Okay, we had this come up in the election when people, and I won't mention names, but we're talking about having 9 states and getting rid of all of the councils. I'm not. I don't agree with that. I believe that'll be up to the people at the end of the day. But I think the local council is the village. But what we need to do, it needs to be run transparently. All the bureaucracy needs to be taken away, and we've got to transition people into starting to look after themselves again. All right. At the moment, they're so reliant and used to all these services that the community's got to start stepping up, and council will get back to being just what a council should be. And but I do believe I would rather keep the councils and the people who elect their councillors. And you even look sideways at an envelope. There has to be real consequences and real punishments. And the systems we have. And while we're trying to set up a parallel system, it's just the ideal of teaching people to look after themselves, right, and become self-managed, and leading themselves and not following other people. And at the end of the day, when the time comes where the mindset of this nation flips and we do take back this country, we still do need to have systems, because it's going to take generations for people in this country to be able to be self-governed. Because at the moment, I don't reckon half of them could wipe their own backside without a set of instructions.
What role does moral code play in the people that represent us?
It's huge. It's top of the list. If you have no morals, you shouldn't be in the job. You're going in there to help the community, not to help yourself or your family or your mates or your mate's business. All right, and there has to be full transparency. It has to be an open chance for all trades or all people to quote jobs that need to be done for the council or for the government. The way I see it, it's a fully closed shop. The jobs go, jobs to the boys. We've known that for years. We've all let that slide. We've all been acquiescent in allowing this to get to where it is, because we knew this shit was going on decades ago. But because we were left alone to live our lives and run our business and have holidays and a family, life was good, right? But these Muppets, whoever designed this idea of locking us down in 2020, they've let the genie out of the bottle, and it's not going back in. And I can see more and more people in this country will be relentless in their pursuit to expose this system for what it is. That's all I'm doing. Whether I get elected or not, it's not about that. I don't want a seat at the table. I want to turn the table upside down. I've said that from day one, whenever I've used this platform for an awareness campaign, and it hasn't changed. I don't believe that anyone's going to get in there and make any changes from the inside. But while we're having this campaign, more and more people are listening to the message, and it's all about the message.
Yep, I agree. Just to that, Commo John is calling out a nationwide strike. Is that the right sort of message?
Look, I don't see why not. I wouldn't. It's up to the individual at the end of the day where they stand. It was no different when I was saying that, look, this is what I'm doing. I don't expect people to do what I'm doing. Everyone will do the level to the courage they have or the knowledge they have to be able to defend the position that they take. So I know that I have. I rang John and I said that I've signed it, mate. I'm there, but I've been doing it. I've been on strike for 3 years anyway, so it's nothing new to me. Everything that he's talking about, I was already doing. So yes, I have supported that. Whether we're going to get enough people, I mean, we had over 1 million people, 1.5 million people in Canberra in 2022, 2 years ago, and nothing happened from it. So I don't know, but anyone that's doing anything, anyone that's putting an idea together, I support. But all I would suggest is that, like I was saying before, we've got to do the hard work, the hard yards. We've got to actually get down, forget about, being the social media guru, and build teams of researchers, build teams that can put some information together that's credible, that has links, that has information, that people can cross-reference and actually then back up your claims with the evidence to support it.
Yep.
If we had more people doing that, would be in a better position, I think.
Yeah. It's not about entering into an argument with someone if you don't have the knockout punch with the evidence on your phone to show them. And look, there's some people, I know one very close to me personally who has an excuse for everything. Has an excuse for absolutely everything, particularly if Labor have done it. He has an excuse for it. Right? Oh, no, there'll be some other reason. And it will invariably be blamed on the other side there somewhere, somehow. There are those people that we're never going to convince. And just nod your head, smile politely, and walk away. you're never going to get them. There's no point getting frustrated about trying to get them. What you should be doing is embracing the ones that do get triggered by what you say, do want to learn more. And maybe if you're that person that's enlightening those folks in that way, then maybe you're also the kind of person that can stand up and lead your community like Darren is doing in Dunkley. And who knows, maybe, the Queensland election's coming up in October. Maybe there's an opportunity for Queenslanders to stand up and lead the country as they have so many times before, particularly in times of crisis. Queensland have always been at the forefront. We've had our parliament stolen from us in Queensland, like every other state and territory for that matter. But Queensland is the first state election where right now I believe the people are looking for an alternative. They are looking for something, someone, some group that has the intentions of the people ahead of their personal intentions, their career opportunities, and the growth of their bank balance at the forefront of their mind when they stick their hand up to say, oh, I want to represent you in Parliament. You know, you want somebody who may not necessarily want to go and do that, but will do it honourably, honestly, and consider it service to the community, which is what the job was originally meant to be. You served in the government under the people, for the people. I think the country is ripe for a group to come forward now and raise their hands and say, we are that group. Give us a go. Get rid of the mainstream parties. And it's blokes like you, Darren, that are going to be in parties like that. I can't get behind you enough. Wish you every strength and power.
If people are going to do that in November or whenever it is for the state Queensland state election, then I would seriously suggest that they actually get together and coordinate it. You don't end up with 2 or 3 independents running in the same seat. Pick your best 30. Well, I don't know how many electorates you have. Pick whoever. Do some kind of a selection process where you have the right people and you don't have 2 or 3 basically diluting each other's vote. So if it's not done in a coordinated fashion and it's not done in conjunction and in collaboration with other people or other independents, then it certainly ain't going to work. And what you got to realise as well is that there's 8 people running in this by-election. Right, that's only 1 less than the federal election 2 years ago. So the more people that run, and these major parties are going to do the same thing. All right, they had the Sack Down Andrews party. They have the Teals. They put up their own opposition as usual. So people think, okay, I'm not voting a major party, but they vote for this one, and then their preferences still go back to the major party, and that's what's wrong with the system. All right, there shouldn't be that. In my way of thinking, I think you put your one vote for one person, and whoever gets over the line takes a seat. End of story.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I would also be wanting to come forward with some sort of policy regarding the bureaucrats term as well. I understand that there's probably a necessity to have some longer term employees in the bureaucracy, but they cannot be allowed to accumulate the power that they have currently got, both the department heads, and one of whom I've been watching recently in estimates, who makes just under or just over $1 million a year. And this is the man responsible for Air Services Australia. And he couldn't explain why Australia's air system comes to a halt when 2 air controllers turn up sick in Sydney one day. The entire country falls down. They have 950 air traffic controllers. 2 of them call in sick, and the country grinds to a halt. This bloke makes $1 million a year, or around abouts, and can't answer those sorts of questions. These are incompetent people, and this one in particular is up for reappointment, and he's been recommended for reappointment to the minister based on the level of incompetence that he's displayed so far. I find absolutely appalling. But because he toes their line, he looks after them, well, he gets to keep the job. They're the kind of people we need gone. There are much better people who probably know a shitload more about air services, air traffic control, and airport operations than that bloke does. People who could do it a better job, maybe at half the wage, and be able to spot the wastage throughout the rest of the business and cut that back as well. Work on a bonus system. You never know, you might get that $1 million again. But we need people who are doers, not shiny bums who sit there and make excuses and then accept the brown paper bag offered by government. And blokes like you in there, and ladies like you in Parliament, mate, we'll see an end to that.
Well, it was interesting when you were saying before about that person you were talking about that has an excuse or a reason. I mean, and that never used to be the Aussie way. No. Going back, and we've got to get that Anzac spirit back, and we've got to build that with our New Zealand neighbours, brothers and sisters, and we've got to reclaim that Anzac spirit that we used to have, where there's a solution for every problem, not a problem for every solution. And the mentality and the way that we've been kind of, it's been bred out of us at the end of the day through the indoctrination system, where there is no passion, there is no free thought. You can't speak your mind, or political correctness that's been coming in for 30, 40 years. It's just got to the point now where we are a nation of problem creators, not problem solvers, and it's a really, really sad place that this country has gotten to. And it's time that people like us and everyone else out there in the freedom movement actually started to come up with more solutions, and not some real solutions, and did the hard work in our neighbourhoods. I keep saying to people that if you spent 1 hour a night just going up your street, if every person that was awake in this country, that's between 5 and 7 million, potentially more, just spent a bit of time finding a household in their street that may not be up to speed, and spent some time asking about them, caring about them. And if everyone in the freedom movement could flip and turn one household, all of a sudden we've got 15 to 20 million people. And that's where the work needs to be done. Not in Melbourne, not in Canberra, right? In your own backyard. And I've kind of been spruiking this for quite some time, but I just don't see the will of the people to actually do the hard yards, do what's required. And I think we need to spend, I'm not saying nobody's doing that, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that are, but I think more of us need to spend time there with the people, not in our echo chamber, not turning up to rallies of the converted, but actually getting in amongst the people that are halfway there or need to get started on their journey. I think if more of us started doing that, I think you'll see things turn quicker. Yep,
couldn't agree more. Darren, number 4, Dunkley.com. The link is in the description of the show. I think pretty sure it's posted up on all the description on all of the different platforms that we're running on tonight. But Darren, number 4, Dunkley.com. Go and check out the platform, and you'll get a bit of an idea of what Darren stands for. And maybe you'll get a little bit of inspiration. And, okay.
You love this one, mate. Within a week of my billboard going up, which I've got on my T-shirt, no more suits and ties, no more fraud and lies is the motto this time.
Love it.
So within a week of that going up on the side of the building, I get a phone call from he doesn't even got his name on this, but I think it was Jonathan from the Frankston Corporate Council. No, that's an unpaid rates one. That's not the one. Anyway, about the fact that my billboard on the side of the building is against council regulations. 8 square meters is the most that you can have, and they've calculated it as being 8.8 square meters. And I said, mate, knock yourself out. Send the letter. I said, you got no authority. I couldn't give a crap. You're being ridiculous. Yep. You're interfering in an election campaign, a federal election campaign. But I got the letter 2 or 3 days later. So no doubt there'll be another court date sometime down the track. I mean, these people just don't give up. It's hilarious.
No. And I'm sorry that you're going through it, but I'm very proud to call you a mate, and you're you've got the courage of a lion, and they can keep throwing this sort of shit at you, and you will just keep pushing back. So all power to you, and whatever we can do here to support you, you've just got to pick up the phone, brother. Happy to be there anytime you like.
No problem at all, Carl. And look, once again, I appreciate the chance to come on and talk to your viewers. You've been a massive support for our quest and my quest in spreading the news about my place, and also any time I ring you and you offer me a spot to reach a wider audience than that I've got down here. And the message that I'm spruiking, it's not a Dunkley thing, it's not a Frankston thing, it's an Australia-wide thing, it's a global thing. And I just think that it's really handy, and I appreciate having this opportunity. Thank you.
No worries, brother. You have a good one, and say hi to Anna for me.
Will do, mate. Thanks. Have a good rest of the show, and hello to all the viewers, and thank you for your time tonight. And please spread the message. We need to step up. We need to be more courageous, and we need to start doing the hard work. And the harder we work, the luckier we get.
Absolutely, mate. God love you. All right. Have a good one. Talk soon.
Thank you.
See you, mate. Darren Bergwerf, Darren4Dunkley.com. Darren4Dunkley.com. Go and check it out. There were a couple of things I wanted to talk about tonight. I was talking to Phil today, Canberra Phil, that is, being mechanically minded. He's going to help me out with the bus a little bit, but he's actually away for another month or so, so we'll see what happens there. But he did tell me that Corey's mum has been taken ill. So I just wanted to give a bit of a shout out to Corey and to Corey's mum. Corey headed home from Canberra, I think, today to be with her. So thoughts are with you, mate. Thoughts are with your mum. Prayers are for your mum. And I hope she gets back on her feet very shortly, very shortly. So just know that we're thinking of you, mate. And I'm sorry I missed you while I was in Canberra. Couple of Cass things. Now, Cass is going to be in Wagga on the 22nd, I think it is. Oh, that's the wrong one. Let me find the right one. Where is it? Oh, that's good. Can't find it. Anyway, 22nd it is at the RSL in Wagga. It gets underway, I think, from 6:30. Go in and have a meal first. That'd be the way to do it. There is the chance for you to take home some silver. I think there are some half-ounce coins they're giving out, but you've got to pre-register. So go and do that at probably ffs.com.au. You'll be able to do that. Cass has let me in on a few interesting little things happening in the super world. So the great cash grab is beginning with Big Super. There are two articles, as she mentions here, that are worth reading. Peter Credlin has written one of those. And essentially, in short, major industry retail funds have started lobbying for legislation to hang on to your super for life. So if you or your loved ones haven't already made a move to get into a self-managed super fund now, you might think, well, that's not a bad thing I should be doing. If you're in Wagga, 22nd of February, Cass will be there along with Ainsley Bullion, and they'll be able to give you some advice on how to get your money out of Big Super. They're planning to keep it, folks. They do not want you to get it. So you need to put it into something that ticks all the boxes for them, but keeps it safe for you. No surprises here. Super complaints have jumped 45%. Last November, we invited you to share Senator Roberts' experience, any experience that you may have had dealing with the Australian Financial Complaints Authority in preparation for parliamentary question sessions. Thank you if you did that, she says. But unbelievable, a 45% jump in complaints about Big Super. Sounds to me like a self-managed super fund is definitely what you should be doing. And Cass and the team at Freedom Financial Solutions, of course, are the people to help you. You can email Cass direct at cass@vofhq.com, and she will forward that on to the team at Freedom Financial Solutions. I could probably give you Mary Jane's email address, but she'll get flooded. She's busy enough as it is. So send it to cass@vofhq.com. It's not like she's busy enough anyway. Gets shot for saying stuff like that. But yeah, it sounds like there is something not too flash going on with Big Super, and they want to keep your money for as long as they possibly can. Don't let them do it. Canberra yesterday. Isn't that a little weird? Don't you think that's a weird kind of weather radar image to be getting? I mean, just weird. If anybody can explain that, I would be really interested in hearing their explanation of it. It looks a little bit too patterned to me for some things, but I know people who know people who know people who have had a lot of experience staring into the bucket and can identify all sorts of shit out of a radar image, and including whether or not it's a real radar image. So that is apparently a real radar image. So what the? I mean, seriously, what the? Just want to thank Cairns News. Big banner. Cairns News live on their Rumble channel tonight. The Voice of Freedom will go out on their Rumble channel every night, as it does on the Voice of Freedom Rumble channel. We are tonight live on Project Matilda because I remembered to push the button at the correct time. Yay. We are also live on None 2K still. Shock, horror, gasp. But every other YouTube channel has been locked out. I can't get into them. I'm sure they've just hit the delete button on them all. But for some reason or other, the main one is still up. So I won't tell if you don't. Facebook, I've got one of my channels down at the moment. The Wake Up channel or group channel is down at the moment, but it is streaming on my Facebook page. So we are still going out in a few places. There are a couple of new ones that I will add now that I have some vacancies in my StreamYard package. So we will try and fix that up. There is a lot of interesting stuff happening in the background at the moment, folks, particularly for Queenslanders. As I mentioned, there is an election coming up in October, and I want to get around and find out as much from you folks as what you require out of your representative and what you want out of a government going forward. I want to hear about your stories, your life, and what you need from a government to make a difference and improvement in your life. So we're trying to put together that tour with a little bit of sponsorship. If you've got a business and you'd like to be involved, we'd love to have you involved, particularly if you're in Queensland. We can stop in and do all sorts of fun things for you. But if you would like more information, then email me, carl@vofhq.com. It is very cheap by mainstream media standards, what we're offering, and I mean very cheap. So if you need some video and audio services, maybe you want to start a podcast and don't really know how, well, we might be able to help you with that too. So if you want to learn more, then carl@vofhq.com, and I would love to talk to you about that, particularly in Queensland in the lead up to the elections, but all over Australia, because that's where we're heading. Once we get the Queensland bit done. In fact, I might even be going to Victoria before we do the Queensland bit. So back to Victoria for some Ainsley bullion stuff. I have been talking to Ainsley over the last couple of days about, a number of different things, but keeping an eye on the price of silver and gold. And there's little jumps, there's little falls, there's little jumps, there's little falls. Keep an eye on it. That's all we're saying at the moment. Donald Trump put some new sneakers out over the weekend. Did you see them? Yeah, Trump sneakers. I mean, I got to say, number 2 said they're probably Melania's. Do you reckon? Typical Trump style. You get a spare pair of laces with these. $699 US is what you pay for those. And he sold out. Sold out. So I got to admit, I don't know why I'd buy them. I probably would never wear them, but gee, that'd be an interesting thing to have sitting on the shelf. What a conversation starter, don't you think? There were a couple of comments that I thought that I would start and just get back to. Zab. Sorry, I won't vote till they name all the pedos that Aussie Cossack went to jail for. Aussie Cossack didn't go to jail for any pedos. So get your story straight unless you're trying to change history. Aussie Cossack didn't go to jail for anything like that. He went to jail for mentioning the name of a man who had been charged but not convicted of a child abuse crime. And in the state where he did that, that is illegal. It's called prejudicing a jury. So he endangered the Crown case against that pedophile, or that alleged pedophile. And that is why he went to jail. All right? Not because he was trying to out 28 or anything like that. Had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. So I just wanted to be clear. If you were unclear as to why he went to jail, please be clear. Sudsy, I hope you are doing okay. If you are doing it tough, send me an email. Let me know what I can do to help you. Okay? We don't let our people in our family get left behind here. So send me an email. Let me know what you need, where you are, and how I can help you. All right? We're very keen to help. We don't like seeing our family being stressed out and in need. And as Michelle has said, where we go one, we go all. Well, I will say that there is one codicil to that, where we go one, we go all. Just one codicil to that. If one of you starts being a dickhead on the road, I'm not following you anymore.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!